Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi and this is the budget deck tier list where we usually talk about the good, the bad but still playable, and the ugly decks available to us as budget players. But of course, in keeping with everything else during the season of Aetherdrift, this video is going to be a little bit different based on this particular set. So be sure to stay tuned. But before we get into all that, let's not forget that Aetherdrift is a story of speed and competition, sometimes with violent consequences, and of course, it's also a love story. But perhaps most importantly, it's a great little reminder that you need to race right over to my Twitch affiliate channel and subscribe right away, because not only do I stream over there 3 or more times a week on average, there is a 2-week video on demand archive for you, all absolutely free. Link in the description. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. While the Aetherdrift set did present some unique challenges for us budget players this season, the most sweeping change actually has to do with the starter decks. You see, now the 2025 new player experience starter decks have been replaced by the now brand new 2026 starter decks. Therefore, all references to the last year's decks, the Foundations preview decks, things like that, have been removed from the budget deck tier list and the various tracking that we do on that, and are now being replaced with newer versions and, of course, new starter decks themselves. I've spoken on several occasions now about the, well, dumpster fire that is the Aetherdrift limited environment. And the challenges that that's represented for us budget players, and I'm not going to go further into it here, but of course those shortcomings translated to an even harder road for those draft archetypes to become full-fledged budget decks, and the fact of the matter is most of them have not made it. And if we look now past that dumpster fire situation, if I had done a true Aetherdrift draft plan in the normal sense, there were in fact 3 decks that I felt like worth keeping an eye on. And even though they haven't fully developed yet, they are still worth keeping that eye on. And don't feel bad if you develop some resources on these in particular, because in the long run, they may just pay off. The first of these potential decks was Temur Exhaust, the blue, red, and green archetype crossover. And really, I had planned on talking about this as a true Temur deck. But the reality is the majority of the builds that I found were really not very budget friendly. In fact, most of them wanted full playsets of loot, as well as full playsets of Dragonautics Engineer and Afterburner Expert. Overall, just not making these very budget friendly. And ultimately, I think rather than giving birth to a new deck that really wasn't making use of the exhaust mechanics presented in lower rarity cards, this really became about finding the right home for the Engineer and the Expert here. But I haven't given up help entirely, because we all know that Temur as a 3-color archetype is about to get a big boost from Tarkir Dragonstorm. The next deck I wanted to talk about is Woo Affinity, and well, when it comes to Affinity on Arena, no matter what format you look at, Affinity seems to be missing something and waiting on an often unknown piece. And in the case of Standard, I think that is because they were truly afraid of printing an overly powerful Affinity card and ruining Standard for years. So they pulled their punches a little bit. But there's a hidden archetype here, and that's a Woo Robots tribal. think we all know at this point that the first post-rotation set coming late summer is going to be Edge of Eternities, the Magic the Gathering Goes to Space set. And the Commander deck, the blue, red, and white one in particular, gives a good indication that robots is going to be a significant creature type in this set. So it's potential that these cards from Aetherdrift have just not found their place in Standard just yet. The third and final Aetherdrift archetype that I think is worth keeping an eye on is the blue-red discard. At the moment, what seems to be holding this back is the same sort of payoff enabler balance issues that blue-red very often has in things like blue-red spells or draw 2. It's hard to have the payoffs and the enablers show up and balance correctly in your deck. And that just really seems to be what is holding this back. The biggest hope I have for this deck moving forward is actually in Eternal formats, where things like Madness and whatnot can really add to the effectiveness of this deck. And there've been several homages and hints to maybe Madness returning in Standard, so we will have to continue keeping an eye out for that. Overall, I really feel like the very best thing that a wise-minded budget player could be doing right now is improving upon their tribal decks based in foundations. For instance, the Elf deck got March of the World Ooze as a new over-the-top finisher, and we can all be assured that Craterhoof Behemoth is going to make its presence felt, both in the Elf decks as well as some other varieties, I'm sure, as the brewers get going. Beyond that, the Cats decks, everyone should be running one copy of Basri, Tomorrow's Champion, for its exert ability to create more cats. Its cycling ability makes it a safe card for the late game when maybe it's not all that relevant because you can just cycle it away. And when you do cycle it, your cats gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Personally, I'm having very good results running a single copy on this. Lastly, Goblins. This maybe got the biggest overall push with House Squad Heavy as a rare coming in. Very nicely fitting into the curb just before good old Cranko. Aetherdrift also brought a number of other potentially supporting goblins at lower rarities. And that's not going to be all, because it looks like Tarkir is going to have some good goblins at lower rarity too. This is a deck that is on the verge of being very, very real, if it's not already, even for the budget-minded players. So guys, that's what's on my radar when it comes to budget decks this season, and what I think should be on your radar. And of course, before we go, Matt would want you to know that, as always, the link for the budget deck tier list spreadsheet that I maintain all throughout the season with continuous updates is found in the doobly-doo down below, aka the description for those that aren't in the know. And of course, I want to take this opportunity to thank my supporting patrons, because being a small content creator comes with big bills. And I just couldn't do everything that I do without their monthly support. Thanks, guys. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in your arena experience, we have a few suggestions for what you could watch next.